Sure, you may recognize him as Tyrion Lannister, but behind that character stands a man with great surprises. How did he go from literally living with rats to becoming a sex symbol who was recognized by Playboy? Who is the leading lady in his life? And how did he bag himself the best movie roles despite his dwarfism? All of these, and even more scintillating details about Peter Dinklage's life are in store for you in our video. So let's get started. And don't forget to subscribe to the OSSA channel and ring the bell for notifications. Since birth, Peter has had to learn to live with a genetic condition that affects his bone growth. This kind of dwarfism usually affects growth in the limbs, and Dinklage found this very hard to accept as a young man. Many could only wonder how his parents, who were of average height, could give birth to a child that happened to be the first of his kind in his town. Of course, it was quite a shock for them too, but anyhow, they did everything possible to make their child feel loved and comfortable the way he was. Still, Peter had to face the horrors of his reality. As an adolescent, I was bitter and angry, and I definitely put up these walls, he said.
He's an angry elf. Look at you!
Unlike many others who tend to blame the cruel cards of life, Dinklage had his own plan for making his dreams come true, no matter what. So there he was, just a boy going to the 5th grade at a simple New Jersey school. But he had already discovered the dream of the acting world. He bagged his first role and tasted some theatrical success with the lead role in the stage production of The Velveteen Rabbit. The audience's positive reception has stayed with Dinklage till today. From then on, he knew what he wanted to do with his life. Although the struggles of life made him go through dozens of challenges before he brought the world down to its knees and conquered it. And it's not like his entire childhood was just suffering and hell. That's not true. For instance, thanks to coincidence, he grew up next door to Bruce Springsteen's manager. And that meant that Bruce was around a lot when Peter was a kid. Bruce used to come over to his house to hang out and play guitar. And supposedly, Bruce was the one who showed Peter the beauty of music. And a couple of years later, Peter joined his own band. Before he made it as an actor, Dinklage used to play in a self-described punk-funk rap band called Wizzy. They even played at the legendary New York club CBGB's. And the surprises do not end here. Just imagine that during one show at that iconic place. Dinklage was jumping around on stage and accidentally got kneed in the temple. I was like Sid Vicious, just bleeding all over the stage. Blood was going everywhere. I just grabbed a dirty bar napkin and dabbed my head and went on with the show. Yes, he was that tough, ladies and gentlemen. As Dinklage revealed, the band didn't care much at the time about personal safety. They were often smoking and drinking during their shows, and one time a bass player fell off the back of his amp because he passed out. By the way, Peter still bears the scar that runs from his neck up to his eyebrows from that particularly energetic performance. Yeah, this guy was never just a poor kiddo, he always knew how to rock and roll.
Well, you should know that I definitely live up to my nickname. Little bit of heaven.
He's still a pretty good singer, as you can see in this team up with Coldplay for Red Nose Day, where he sums up Game of Thrones and the longevity of Tyrion Lannister both succinctly and musically. But that passion for reckless hard parties came from the inner pain and struggles. Peter admitted that everything in high school was like life or death. I didn't have many friends, he recalled. He went to an all-boys Catholic high school where most of the kids wore Izods and played lacrosse, while he was an all-black wearing brooding smoker. Still, he had one best friend, and during one particularly bitter day, they came up with the idea to hang themselves off the bell tower, to prove something to all those who were bullying them. As Dinklage explained later, they had no inclination to commit real suicide at all, but they liked the idea of the whole town responding to this tragedy with an entire school in school mourning. Luckily, that dramatic attitude was what pushed Peter to take acting classes. When Dinklage went to Bennington College, he finally found people he could fit in with, who'd become lifelong friends and artistic collaborators for the rest of his career. Here, our guide taken his all-black ensemble to the next level, adding a black velvet cape, tights, and combat boots. After graduating from college in 1991, Dinklage moved to New York to pursue acting, and so the days of deep struggle commenced in his life. For most people, acting would mean reaching for any role they could find, but not for Dinklage. He was more interested in building a real career than taking parts that exploited him for his size, so he turned down quite a few roles. He refused to play many roles offered to him to portray dwarves in different comedies, and always stated that it was not the right way to deal with this disease. Dwarves are still the butt of jokes. It's one of the last bastions of acceptable prejudice, Peter said in an interview. It was never easy to say no. There were consequences, of course, but Peter had this clear image of who he wanted to be. I expected the entertainment business to see only my size and nothing else, so I wanted to pretend my size wasn't who I was at all and do roles that had nothing to do with it. As much as it was uncomfortable and painful for him to have lost out on many acting opportunities, Dinklage remained confident in himself. Dinklage spent the early years of his pursuit of an acting career living with a friend and a colony of rats. Okay, we need to clarify that. Peter and some friends shared an apartment under the bridge, which made the apartment shake insanely. They didn't have heat because the oven was filled with rats. Yes, rats. Peter, as the most creative one, came up with a brilliant solution. He got a cat. But when his roommate didn't take the cat with him, Peter ended up owning it for over a decade. Nowadays, Peter reminds himself of all this with a laugh. I'm a baby now. I like my comforts. But in my 20s, my friends and I took suffering for our art to an extreme. It sounds so ridiculous now. Anyhow, Peter knew better than to let himself sink in that whirlpool. And so, starting with a minor role, Dinklage's debut in a parody of the independent film world Living in Oblivion, which was more than just impressive. Over time, Peter came to terms with using his size rather than being exploited for it. He did it wisely, needing clear reasons for taking every single role. Look at roles like Tyrion. My size is obviously why I got the part. I wouldn't be playing Tyrion if I wasn't this size, he now admits contentedly.
Being a dwarf.
Peter started meeting friends who were writers and directors, and so he found his back door. They put him in independent films, such as The Station Agent, and helped to build the career he always dreamed of. At one point, he was even on Sesame Street. We love when big-name actors agree to appear on Sesame Street, don't we? And this
Simon says,
Whatever Simon says,
whatever Simon says.
In this clip, he gets to play the very famous Simon of the game Simon Says, although he doesn't seem quite sure why. He says that working with the Muppeteers was a lot of fun because their language is so dirty. When the kids aren't around, he said in a later Playboy interview, it's like being in a Muppet brothel. With a more than impressive record of roles and performances featured in movies like The Station Agent and Life as We Know It, and of course the performance in X-Men, 2011 saw Dinklage perform in what would be one of his most iconic roles ever. As the only American in the Game of Thrones cast, Peter Dinklage was having a field day as Tyrion Lannister. Every person my size has a different life, a different history, different ways of dealing with it. Just because I'm seemingly okay with it, I can't preach how to be okay with it. I don't think I still am okay with it. There are days when I'm not. The thing Peter Dinklage would never have expected in his entire life. I think there's an irony in all this. I take it with a grain of salt. They'll say, oh, he's sexy, but women still go for guys who are 6'2". It's nice that people are thinking outside the box, but I don't believe any of it for a minute, he says. Along with his obvious career success, Peter is an inspiration in his personal life as well. Dinklage is married to the beautiful and very talented theater director Erica Schmidt. She may not be as publicized as her famous Game of Thrones star husband, but Erica is super successful in show business. The couple, who have been married for 13 years, clearly share a passion for the performing arts. Peter adores his wife, saying that she is brilliant. She's very inspiring. She's definitely the artist of the family, says Dinklage, clarifying that he is just the TV actor who pays the bills. When Peter won the Emmy in 2011, he looked at Schmidt from the stage and said, I love you, Erica. You're amazing. I love you. As a truly responsible man, he puts family first while still focusing on his career.
Thank you, Dave and Dan, for changing my life. I cannot walk down the street anymore.
Today, they live in New York, where Dinklage can feel almost anonymous. I like privacy, and all this press is not my thing. The two have a 7-year-old daughter and welcomed a second baby last year. Overall, it seems they're living a happy life together while going after their dreams and winning awards. Of course, the story has a happy ending. And as he sings in this team-up with Coldplay, Peter Dinklage is still going strong.
I'm still going strong.
he's still going strong.
Thanks for watching. Check out these other great stories from OSSA and subscribe for new videos about your favorite stars.